the Pentagon has released several videos of UFOs. This is on MSN News and several other news sites. There's a video showing some of the clips. They're, fairly nondescript. They're not very clear. Something which we can't really make out appears to be tangible craft. One could argue you don't see any physical signs of craft, but you don't see any logical, natural explanation, which is the fundamental of a real UFO, or unidentified aerial phenomena, for that matter, which is a term they tend to use. That's their favoured term, so a UAP, as opposed to a UFO. UFO obviously meaning unidentified flying object. So let's watch this video. And that's pretty much the entire video. Basically, what we're dealing with here is something which has been examined by the experts in the field, the experts in the study of, aircraft, basically, and relating sciences. And if they can't come up with an explanation, then what is there left? Typically, the reason why they cannot come up with an explanation, a reasonable or remarkable one either for that matter, is because there's a lack of data. Something seen on video, something which seems to be evident, something that seems very real, but we can't really say what it is. Could be a physical craft, yep, okay. Looks like something which is artificial, doesn't seem to be like anything in nature that we're aware of, okay. And yeah, we're left with the uncomfortable grey area of it remaining unidentified. That's the key thing. An object of some kind, or what appears to be an object, possibly created by some kind of intelligence, like, say, another government, or indeed the American government. Because these images were from the Navy, the US Navy. And we don't know if other aspects of the military, or I don't know, research of whichever kind, is basically creating very quick and very secretive drones, in which case it kind of adds an explanation to what these things could be, even though we can't really say that's necessarily the case without enough data to, actually say that is indeed the case, because it would be guesswork. It would be a reasonable thing to say that an intelligence on this planet, a human intelligence, created potentially drones, and those drones have been used for whichever purpose. When you're with similar phenomena going back, it's more suggestive that there might be small or remarkable craft, as opposed to drone craft, which could be used. But then you begin to look back before we had planes. So with these images, they're recent. They're in the noughties. I think the oldest one is 2004, and the one 2007, the one 2015. And when you're looking back to the same sort of imagery, things that appear to be very similar going back a couple of centuries, and indeed you could argue a couple of thousand years, to be honest, and more, then you've got to ask yourself, what are they? Likely different phenomena, likely different things altogether. But if someone took a picture in, say, 1900, or even 1920, and they took similar images of similar craft, which operated far beyond the technology of the time, you've got to ask yourself, what were they dealing with? Very much like the so-called Foo Fighters that people claim to see in World War II. Bombers flying over to bomb Germany. And indeed Germans would see similar things, apparently. And they would see so-called craft, or what they believe to be craft, many of them smaller than the actual planes they're in, even if they're in fighters. And it makes you wonder, what were they actually looking at? Some kind of unrecognized phenomena? Some people suggested some kind of peculiar ball lightning. Some people even suggest time travelers and the like. But the truth is, if you don't know, you don't know. And without clear evidence to show what they are, what they could be, without enough data, it's speculation. That's the problem. Until you actually know, until you're sure, it comes down to the simple point that we can only speculate on what we have here, because we don't have enough data to say for sure in any way what these things must be.